Hi there, everybody, and welcome to the Alzheimer's Society of Simcoe County's regular Facebook Live broadcast. If you're joining in, and maybe I'll wait for some people to come and join us today. My name is Erica. I'm the Education Coordinator here at the Alzheimer's Society. And every second Monday, I come on at noon and talk about a different topic related to dementia, topics of interest for people living with dementia and care partners and the general public. So today the topic is living safely with dementia, and it's a very important topic. I'm actually going to be talking about today as well as our next Facebook Live broadcast 2 weeks from now. And we may continue on this topic for the next one after that as well, because it is really important. This one we're talking about living safely in the community. And what I really wanted to focus on today is one specific aspect of living safely in the community, and it's only one aspect, and that is keeping people living with dementia safe from going missing. And you'll see in that Facebook post that we put out there promoting this Facebook Live that it had Finding Your Way logo on there. And so I just wanted to show that. I don't know if you could see that, but Finding Your Way, this is one of our resources. Finding Your Way is a program of the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario that they created back a number of years ago with the Senior Secretariat, and they worked with the OPP to create some resources to help keep people living with dementia safe. So we know, if you watched our last Facebook Live broadcast from March the 8th, that when somebody's living with these symptoms of dementia, these symptoms can increase the risk that somebody's living with. Now, life has a risk. Every time we walk out the door, we get in our car to drive somewhere, we cross the street, we're taking on some level of risk. But when you're living with these brain changes that come with these diseases like Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia, it increases that risk. So when you're thinking when you're out in the community and how we can get safely from point A to point B, our brain is, oh, hi, Josie, it's nice to see you again. Our brain is having to take in visual information and connect it with those wayfinders along the way that let us know, like, turn right at this street, that's the house that I have to pass in order to get to the grocery store. And so our brain's always doing this for us. But when you're living with those symptoms of dementia, sometimes our brain isn't able to do that for us. And so a person can go out to the store and get disoriented along the way. Their brain's not connecting to those wayfinders, and so they can become disoriented and lose their way. And what we know from unfortunate events in the past is that when a person living with dementia goes missing, becomes disoriented, gets lost, and is not found quickly, we can have some disastrous consequences. So we unfortunately have a number of people living with dementia who have come to great harm, and in some cases have died from exposure or other reasons because they have gone missing and they weren't found quickly. So it is certainly an emergency that we need to take very seriously. So again, this is Finding Your Way. You can go to the website. It's findingyourwayontario.ca. There's lots of great information on there, as well as a number of resources to help people stay safe. So what we want to do is, prevention is really the key here. You don't want to react after it's already happened. We want to put some things in place to help prevent somebody from going missing in the first place. So I see we have a couple people joined, and thank you. If you want to make a comment like Josie has along the way, it might take a bit of a lag time for me to see it, but I will keep my eye on it and answer your comments. Also, if you wanted to send a message on Messenger, we're keeping track of that. We try to respond to those messages fairly quickly, so you can always send your questions to me that way as well. So thinking about why people living with dementia go missing. So again, it's like the memory changes, being able to connect that sensory information the brain's receiving to memory that's stored in there to say, yes, I've been here before, I recognize that house, I know this street, I remember the route, and that starts to change. But also, we all have times where we've gotten disoriented, we've lost our way, we're not sure where we're going, and where was I supposed to turn? I can't remember the right route, but our brains are able to problem solve. It's those critical thinking skills. You can say, okay, well, let's retrace my steps and let's go back. Or, okay, what do I recognize from the environment? And we're trying to pull out those memories. Or maybe it's, well, I'm going to pull out my phone and check my Google Maps or use my GPS, or maybe I'll call somebody or I'll stop this person and ask for directions. But somebody living with dementia, they might not be able to do that any longer. They might not be able to problem solve this out. And so they are kind of stuck. They're not sure how to, find their way to get to their next destination. So that's another part of why people go missing. When you think about things that contribute to people going missing, part of it could be just an unfamiliar environment, a busy environment. Too much stimulation can cause heightened anxiety. That can make it harder for somebody to be able to work through these problems or to figure out what they need to do. One easy thing to help people, that prevention, is to try to go out in the community at times where it's less busy. If you're going shopping at the store, right now they've been having those, what they call seniors hours, but that's what they've been calling, those times in the morning where it's just for people over a certain age, and it's less busy, less congestion in the stores. Of course, right now with COVID, there's not as much congestion in the stores, but still, you want a time where it's a little quieter. There's not as much going on. So think about that after we get out of COVID and we go back to life as we normally have seen it. Hopefully that will happen sometime soon. That you want to find times where it's a little less busy, a little quieter. Another one is poor communication. So sometimes when you're out in the store, let's say you're going with your spouse and your spouse is living with dementia. You say, I'm just going to run across the store and grab something and I'll meet you back here at the front doors in 10 minutes. And you don't really think much of it because that's the way you've always communicated with each other. Well, now you come back to the front door in 10 minutes and your spouse is nowhere to be seen. Because they have forgotten that you've had the conversation, and so they've forgotten that they even came with you in the first place, and they've taken off and headed home or done whatever it is their brain's telling them in the moment. So as a care partner, it's being aware that that's a potential, and to be very careful with your communication, using memory strategies to help people remember. It's having to be a little bit more intentional to keep people safe. So to consider that. Another one they talk about is not telling other people what's going on. And this is a personal choice. I don't want to tell individuals living with dementia, oh yes, you need to tell everybody you're living with dementia. It's a personal choice for you, but when more people know, the more able they are to step in and provide that support. Maybe it's neighbors that are able to kind of keep an eye out to make sure that when you go out on your walk, you get home safely. It's people being able to say, hey, do you need to drive somewhere? And I'll take you to that appointment or to that activity to make sure that the person gets there safely and gets home safely. So the more that people know, the more you can build that circle of support and people who are there to help you continue living safely. Because the goal is you want to live in your community and live your life for as long as you possibly can. Dementia changes so many things. We don't want it to change the life, the community aspect, any more than it has to. So the more that we can all work together to keep people safe, the better it is for everybody. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some prevention strategies. Oh, hi Janet, nice to see you. There's a lot of different things that we can do. First of all, I'll talk a bit about some GPS locating devices. The thing that the Alzheimer's Society promotes is called Medic Alert Safely Home. And as it's part of Medic Alert, so you get a Medic Alert bracelet. It costs about $65 a year. Medic Alert keeps the database of all the contact information, medical information, everything that you need. So if somebody were out, they're going about their day and they become disoriented, it could be easy even just for a good Samaritan to help them get connected and get home easily, because that Medic Alert bracelet, it has their first name, has a 1-800 number, it has an ID number. They can call the 1-800 number, give the ID number, and Medic Alert has all the contact information. They can call, their spouse or one of their kids and get them home safely that way. So we do promote Medic Alert Safely Home. It's not a locating device. So, thinking about locating devices. Now, here's another issue with locating devices. It has to be a conversation with the person living with dementia. When we're trying to keep people safe and lower risk, we all have a right to live with risk, right? We have different comfort levels with risk as well. That doesn't change when somebody's living with dementia. But what does change is the person's awareness. So in the last Facebook Live, I talked about lack of insight. And so when somebody is having lack of insight, or what we call anosognosia, that means that their awareness of the situation starts to change. So their capacity might change. They might not be aware that they're living at risk and that their decisions are putting them at a heightened level of risk. And that's when people can step in and start managing the risk. But it's that balance between keeping people safe and them having the right to live with risk and quality of life. So it can be a real balancing act. And we talk a lot about this in our education for people who are supporting somebody living with dementia, for family and friends, because they can often struggle with this. And so when you're thinking about locating devices, have that conversation together. As one woman living with dementia has said, when it comes to locating devices, I am okay with it as long as it's only used to keep me safe. But if it starts to be used to keep track of where I am and what I'm doing, then I have a problem with that. And perfectly understandable. So we just have to work together to figure out what's the best thing. There's a lot of different locating devices. There's things that you can put in the insole of a shoe. There are watches that work on like a Rogers cellular network. Lifeline now has a GPS locator with the Lifeline that you can get. There's lots of different options. And Finding Your Way Ontario does have a page to compare different locating devices. I think right now it's actually under construction, but it will be up and running again soon. So it might be a good place to go to see all the things that are available and see what's the best fit for you. The Alzheimer's Society, we also have a great resource called Locating Devices that can help families and people living with dementia sort out what's the best option for them. So that's one thing. So Medical Alert Safely Home, locating devices, but simple things like just making sure that you always have your contact information in your wallet or somewhere on your person. Maybe it's, if you don't carry a wallet, maybe it is making sure it's in the pocket of the jacket that the person always wears. And making sure that your contact information, if you're the care partner, is on that as well as any kind of medical information that somebody might need to know. So those kind of preparedness is fairly easy to do. It's just making sure that that's put into practice. We also have, we bring back this Finding Your Way again, the resource. There is an ID kit in here. So this was created with the OPP, and they've said, what is it that we want to see when somebody calls 911 and says a person living with dementia is missing? What do we want to see? So it does ask for a most recent picture, all of the personal characteristics, places where the person might tend to go, their usual locations, those kinds of things. So filling something like this out is a great way to be prepared, hoping you never need it, but you're going to be glad you have it if you do. And there is some of those on the website, because I know right now with COVID, trying to get these kind of resources in person isn't always easy. So if you want this information, you can always message me here on our Facebook page, and I'll connect with you and see if I can email out some of the information or send it out in the snail mail if that's what you prefer. I also want to bring your attention to another really great resource, and this is, it's called Safety When Out and About. These are the Bias for Us guides, and these were created by people living with dementia for other people living with dementia. And they were created by the Murray Alzheimer Research and Education Program at the University of Waterloo. You can buy them online. You can also download PDF copies of these online. So this is a really great resource. It has lots of wonderful tips for people living with dementia, as well as care partners, to try, things that you can do to keep people safe when you're out. So again, if you want some information about how to get this resource, just send me a message here on Facebook, and I'd be happy to send you the link where you can look at it online, or where you can order a copy if you wanted an actual hard copy of it. So what else? Well, thinking about other ways of prevention, just those things like a cell phone, making sure that a person, if they carry their cell phone with them everywhere they go, as many of us do, that the contact numbers are pre-programmed in there. But I would also say to make sure that that contact has a clear recent photo of the person. Because sometimes we put the numbers in and then it just has that generic, head shape beside it. Well, take the time to take a nice clear photo and put it beside the contact, because that's going to help when they see the pictures. Again, people connect to visual information first. They'll see the picture of the person they want to call, and that's easier for them to find the number that they need. And sometimes one of the suggestions in that Bias Forest Guide was, if it's safe to do so, finding some kind of holder where you could put that phone around the neck, because when you need it, you're going to be more likely to use it if, oh, here's my phone, and it's right here when I need it. So I know that there are some holders, like if you go canoeing, they have these clear plastic sleeves, put the phone in, and then you just have to make sure if it's around the neck that it's safe. Yeah, thanks, Noel. I thought that was a great comment too, and this, again, was a suggestion by a person living with dementia in that Bias Forest Guide. So some of these great ideas, right? Thinking outside the box. So what else? Thinking about routines. There's lots of people living with dementia, they do well with routines, I should say. So it's accessing the procedural memory, those things that we've done so much that we can do it without really thinking about it. So the more we do things, the easier it is for our brain to follow that routine to do the activity. So when you're thinking about routines, let's say somebody wants to go out for a walk, because who wouldn't want to go out for a walk on a day like today? So do you have a walking route and you do the same walking route every day? It's following that same route so that it cements those wayfinding along the way. Okay, this is where I turn right. This is the house that I go by on my way home. And then if you're sharing with some of those neighbors along the route, they can also keep an eye out and make sure that the person living with dementia is safe. So those are some things that can be done. Or say somebody likes to go down, have coffee with the guys, or go out with the girls every Monday. Having somebody in the group where you've connected and say, hey, when they get there, can you just text me so I know they're there safely? And when they leave, just send me another text so I know that they're on their way home. So just those kind of, being a little prepared can really help. So some things that people have said too when they're out and about, washrooms can be a big risk factor. So when there is a family washroom, using the family washroom. If there's not a family washroom, try to find one where there's only one door. Most washrooms, male, female, only have one door. But as the care partner, make sure that you stand outside of that door until your family member comes back. Not going out to, look at other things or do some more shopping. To make sure that you stand there to make sure they come out safely, because they might come out of the washroom and then get disoriented and then you've lost them. And I know some care partners have said they have no problem asking someone to go in and check if it's taking longer than it should take. So those are some things that we have to do. Another suggestion from the Bias Forest Guide is to install some unique lighting on your house. So if somebody is out and they're coming back later at night, that can be a very disorienting time. If you have some unique lighting on your house, it can be easier to identify from the other homes in the neighborhood. Okay, so when you're thinking about why this is all important, and there goes my dog, I don't know if you can hear him in the background, but we think that we're supporting somebody living with dementia, or maybe you are somebody living with dementia and you think, that's not my problem, that's never happened, I would never, go missing. But usually these things happen just out of the blue and can happen really early in the disease as well. I'm out doing my business, doing my shopping, going for my walk, and just all of a sudden, I can't pick out the wayfinder cues to let me know where I am. So it can happen very much out of the blue. So really being prepared is the best thing that we can do. Because the statistics are that for people living with dementia, 3 out of 5 will go missing at some point in the disease. And that's a really high number. And we know that if we don't find them quickly, they can have some very serious consequences. So it is really important to consider how we're keeping people safe. And also the OPP want to say that, when somebody living with dementia goes missing, it can be our, just our gut instinct to go out and get all friends and neighbors out looking. But the police would say that they would rather, once you've done your scope of the house and yard, they would rather you call 911 right away and let them know that it's a person living with dementia, because search is an emergency when someone is living with dementia. So don't be afraid to call 911 if you need to. Okay, so if you're a community member out there and signs to look for if somebody might be disoriented is if somebody is standing still, maybe looking up at a sign, a road sign for a long period of time, looking fairly confused, or maybe they're looking around. A big cue might be that they're improperly dressed for the weather. So if it's cold out and they're wearing just a light jacket, or if it's hot out and they're wearing a big coat, those are some of those cues that maybe there might be some dementia. And maybe they're repeating the same questions over and over. So those are some things you just might want to approach them slowly from the front, being very friendly, introduce yourself, ask if you can be of help, ask simple questions, often yes or no if you can. Check to see if they're wearing a Medic Alert Safely Home bracelet, or if you need to call 911 and stay with the person until the police arrive to make sure that they get home safely. So I'd like to just wrap up this Facebook Live by saying that this is only a little bit of information, very high level overview in this 15 minutes. I don't even know how long I've been talking. 20 minutes that I've been talking to you. But we are doing a workshop on March 31st, so the Alzheimer's Society of Simcoe County and the Alzheimer's Society of Muskoka. And we're doing a workshop on finding your way, and it's free to the public. So if you're interested, there is an event created on our Facebook page. So there's a Zoom link to register in the event. So please feel free to do that. And next time I'll be talking again about living safely in the community, but I'll be focusing more about risks around the house and yard, because it's springtime. It's time to get out there and clean up the yard and do all those kinds of things, maybe some spring cleaning, and there might be some elevated risk for people living with dementia there as well. So thank you for joining me, and I hope I will see you again next time. And again, if you want to join us for that webinar on the 31st, I hope you will do so, and maybe I'll see you there. Have a good day.